In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing leg of a right triangle. So in the past, we've already learned how to find the hypotenuse, which is the longest side of the right triangle. It's the side that's across from the right angle. This time, we're going to be given the hypotenuse, and now we have to find out what one of the legs are. So let's go ahead and go through our steps to see how to do it. So make sure you guys are writing things down as well. So the first thing you have to do is you're going to have to write down the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so just like we did in the previous lessons, the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then, just as before, label A, B, and C on the triangle that we are given. Okay, it's always nice to have that picture there to help visualize things. Then we're going to now substitute or plug things in. Substitute's more of the vocabulary term for this. And we're going to substitute the values of the different variables into the equation. Okay, and we'll work on that in a second. Then step 4 is going to be solve for either A or B, because those are the two variables that deal with your legs. That's the whole point of this lesson. We're looking for the leg. All right, so I have the first problem here for you. Make sure you label the sides. And I am going to draw one more thing. Every time you have a triangle, especially with the Pythagorean theorem, we're going to need to draw our right angle. Now, I'm drawing my right angle here because we are given the hypotenuse. It is always across from the right angle. Plus, this is a right angle right here, two sides that create a 90-degree angle. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this problem. So, write down the Pythagorean theorem. Cool. So, I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, just as before. Now label A, B, and C on the triangle. Okay, so I'm going to have this side over here be A. This will be B, my two angles, my two legs, I mean. And then this will be C, because the hypotenuse is always C. The longest side is always C, and it's always across from the right angle. Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3 is substitute the value of the variables. Now, an a squared is not a anymore, it's 8. So 8 squared plus, now b is still b squared. We do not have a number there for you. And then c squared is 17 squared, because that's what we just labeled on our triangle. That's our hypotenuse. Now we have to solve for A or B. In this situation, we are solving for B, so we are going to have to start simplifying everything. We always do our exponents first. So in your calculators, you're going to do 8 squared, which is the same thing as 8 times 8, which is 64. I'm going to bring b squared down, because we're not done with that yet. Then 17 squared is the same thing as doing 17 times 17. And that is 289. Make sure you guys are trying this in your own calculators as well. Now we have to start getting b by himself. We're solving for b. So I'm drawing my wall, and I need to subtract 64 to the other side. Okay, so we're subtracting because 64 is positive, so 64 minus 64 is 0. Thank gosh, we are done with that side. And now we're going to subtract 289 minus 64. And we get 225. Okay, now just like in previous lessons, we are not done. We have the square still. So what we have to do is, instead of finding the square of something, we're taking that square root. This is what we're doing in almost every single problem for the Pythagorean theorem. So to take the square root, you have that button on your calculators that are from the front of the room. You put in your number and you plug in the square root button. So when I find that, the square root of 225 is 15. Now remember, in geometry, you have to label your sides. So 15 is the leg of B, okay? Now, 17 is our hypotenuse. Don't forget that, right? So if 17 is our hypotenuse, that needs to be the largest number, and it is, so we're good there. Now let's go ahead and check. So we're going to plug in what we know and make sure each sides of the Pythagorean theorem are in fact equal. So a squared is 8 squared plus b, we just figured out, is 15 squared, equals c squared, which is 17 squared. So hopefully the left does in fact equal the right. So let's go ahead and do our math. So we have 8 squared, which is 64, plus 15 squared, which is 15 times 15 is 225. And that's equal to 17 squared, which is 17 times 17, and that is 289. So if the first side is equal to the second side, then we know that our answer is correct. When I add 64 plus 225, we do get 289, so we know our answer is, in fact, correct. All right, so we're going to do another one. We have our 24 feet, our 25 feet. Make sure, again, that you label these sides. They're not listed for you guys. And I'm going to label where my right angle is. Okay, and so I now know what my hypotenuse is. So our first step that we have to do, we have to make sure we write our Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now I have to label my sides. Okay, so I know that c is across my right angle. I'm going to label our missing side as a and 24 is b. Now you can interchange a and b, guys. It does not matter which one is what. However, c has to always be the largest number and right across from the right angle. So now I'm going to plug in my different values in and substitute them into Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to have a squared, because we don't have a value for a, plus 24 squared equals 25 squared, because those are our values that we've received. Now we're going to do the math. So again, a squared comes down because we can't really simplify that right now, but 24 squared is the same thing as 24 times 24, and that is 576. Whoops, I accidentally put equal sign. I meant plus 576 equals 25 squared, which is 625. All I did was 25 times 25. Okay, now to get our a squared by itself, we are needing to subtract 576 to the other side. So when we do that, we are getting a squared equals 49. Now that is not our final answer. We need the square to go away. And the only thing you do is take your square root. It's the opposite action of taking the square. You guys can do this one mentally. What number times itself is 49? Hopefully you really know your mental math, but it is 7, and it's going to be 7 feet because you label. Okay, so now we go ahead and plug in what we know and check our answer in this right-hand column. So a squared, a we found out is 7. So 7 squared plus b squared, which is 24 squared, equals c squared, which is 25 squared. 7 squared is 49. 24 squared is 576, as we found earlier. And then 25 squared is 625. So we're hoping that the left side of our equation equals the right. So let's go ahead and add 49 plus 576. And it is, in fact, 625. So guys, because these equal each other, we know that we found the right answer and that 7 feet is correct. Go ahead and try the very last example on your own and make sure that you label the sides correctly. I just labeled the right angle for you, so hopefully that helps. Come back and see if your answer is correct. All right, guys, you should have gotten a pretty long decimal, let's be honest, but let's try and round to the first decimal. So it'd be 8.9 inches. Please make sure that you rounded your answer, but also that you labeled it. When we're in geometry, we've got to label so that we know we're talking about inches, centimeters, feet, yards. We don't know until you label it. But that is the answer you should have gotten. If you didn't, go ahead back and see if you can catch your mistake. All right, on this page, what I want you guys to do is just try these on your own. You're going to label your answers, and you need to make sure that you are rounding to 1 decimal point. If you are having trouble, please don't hesitate to ask questions and see if you can get some extra help that way. Good luck.